What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Here behind me we got Project CB9. In today's episode we're going to go ahead and replace the rack and pinion boots that are badly deteriorated with new rack and pinion boots. So let's go ahead and show you what's going on, and let's get started. This passenger side boot, looking from the axle side, you can see it's majorly torn. I'll go on the underside and show you, but let's go ahead and check out the driver's side first. Driver's side is a little bit worse. As you can see, I'm just pulling back. You can see the dry rotting of this rubber here, but this boot's in multiple pieces. So let me go ahead and show you on the underside of what this thing looks like. All right, I'm looking at the peep window. This protective cover right here, which I'm going to have to eventually pull off, but it's just all mangled up. So let me go ahead and pull off this protective cover here. I'll give you a better image here. Okay guys, now I can give you a little better image now that the protective cover is off. There's little scraps actually are just falling apart. As you can see, this rack and pinion boot is just badly mangled up. So we're gonna go ahead and replace this boot. The driver's side is gonna be a little tougher since I've got all the connections in the steering box right next to the rack and pinion boot. And it looks like the passenger side right there, that is straight access, so that's not bad. So let's go ahead and get the worst side done first, the driver's side. So as you can see here, there's a metal band that holds it on to the rack and pinion right there. So when you get that metal band off, and then over here, it looks like to be a little wire connection. So just take that little wire off, and that basically should allow that boot to just slip right off. And first things first, we need to go back up to the top and undo the tie rod ends. So we'll go ahead and get that done before we can remove these boots. Okay, first things first, of removing this tie rod end, is we need to take this cotter pin, bend it backwards, and then shove it back to this bolt. Once that cotter pin is then removed, take your socket, take that nut right off, and that's going to leave the threads exposed with the tie rod end still in place. Now, in order to get this off, you can either hammer at it, but I prefer to use this pinion arm tool. And what you'll do is you'll put it here on the bottom, take your socket, I believe this is a 19, and then you tighten this on there. And what that will do when you tighten this is it will then force that threaded rod straight down and break it apart, and that's what you want. So I prefer this method versus the hammer method, but you can do what you want. Now the hammer method has more risk involved with either breaking something or mushroom heading the actual shaft itself. So we'll just go ahead and use this pinion arm tool right here. All right, let's go ahead and get this part off. Okay, it looks like this part of the boot right here is held on by a piece of wound up wire. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna stick a flathead screwdriver in here and get my pliers and just basically try to unwind this piece of wire holding this part of the boot on. This boot's gonna probably separate in two due to how old this thing is and how bad it's torn up. So let me go ahead and get this wire removed. All right, guys, the old boot is finally off. As you can see, the teeth on that rack and pinion. Looks like there's not much grease on there, so before we go ahead and put the new boot in position, I'm gonna go ahead and take this grease right here, and I'm just gonna liberally apply it on that rack and pinion and then put the boot in position, because you want some lubrication on the rack and pinion, so you don't want that steering system going bad. Another thing to mention, this inside was a little tough to get off. There's a little hose that connects to this, I guess, little outlet right here. So when we put the new one on, you need to make sure that this outlet right here connects to the hose. And then putting that metal band on, and this rack and pinion boot came with a tie strap for this end right here. So we can try to reuse that wire piece that we pulled off, or we can use a tie strap, so we'll see what happens. Now, I believe someone's asking me if you wanted to remove this rack and pinion assembly, you basically undo this bolt right here, undo this bolt right here, undo all these lines from the steering box, undo this bolt, take this tube out of here, which has the outlet into the boot, and then go into the engine bay itself and undo the steering wheel connection, and this rack and pinion should drop out. So let's go ahead and go under the hood. Okay, here is where the steering rack comes in from the interior, goes into the engine bay, and then it comes down with a joint. It looks like there's a rubber cover under there. So I believe the way to disconnect it is from the underside. So I don't believe you can disconnect it here from the engine bay side. Plus, you know, if you've got an engine in the way, trying to disconnect that steering rack, wow, that would be a major pain, because obviously the intake manifold covers this whole area when the engine goes in place. You'd have to remove that just to get to that, but I don't think that's the case. So I believe you disconnect that from the bottom side. Sorry, I don't have a direct answer for removing the entire steering rack, but I believe that's done on the bottom side and not the engine side of the car. Okay, so I've got a little fold top sandwich bag here. I'm gonna place some fingers in there, and I'm gonna dip it into this grease right there, and I'm gonna liberally apply it to those rack and pinion teeth right there. So before I go ahead and put that boot in place, I'm gonna really apply the grease onto where the rack and pinion teeth are at. So let me go ahead and do that. And after this thing is all greased up, we can go ahead and slide the new boot in position and connect the tube, and we'll go on the underside of the car, put that metal strap on, and then put the outside strap on, whether it's that metal ring or the tie strap that was included. And that basically summarizes the installation of the rack and pinion boots here. And then we'll go ahead and address the next side, which is easier. Okay guys, all done. Got that tube connected, got the metal strap on the inside secure, and used the original metal ring here instead of the supplied tie strap. So that was quite a process because you've got this steering box in the way. Passenger side is much more wide open, so this is the toughest side to do, the driver's side, so keep that in mind. And I don't know, about an hour process on this one. I was taking my time and showing you guys all the processes involved with doing this replacement. Alright, so now once we put the tie rod end back in position with 18 turns and tighten everything back up, we'll go ahead and address the passenger side. Okay, moving on to the passenger side. This should be a lot easier than the driver's side since I've got a lot more working room I can see. So same procedure, remove this bolt right here, push this shaft right here through this knuckle, and then take this end link and then just turn this off. But remember to count the turns, and then back off this little nut right here this way. And that'll then allow us to undo this boot and slide it all off, and then we can reinstall it. So let me go ahead and show you what it looks like from the underside. Okay, here's the view from the underside of the car. And here's this metal clamp that we need to remove. What I did with the other one, I basically just took some pliers and jammed my flathead screwdriver in there and twisted in there and broke the clip off. There's some little folding pieces of metal if you want to get nice and neat to remove it, but you can go ahead and cut that thing off, you know, using your pliers and whatnot. And then this is the hose that we need to reconnect, but I mean, see how much more room we've got to work. Driver's side, we just had basically a U-shaped cavity working. I didn't have this much access to work in here, so this will make things a lot more enjoyable on this side. So I got the worst side done, now the easy side, so let's go ahead and get this removed. Okay, I got the metal band clamp in position. I was able to get it on the third notch. A little tough, I had to hold it with my finger up here and then get my flathead screwdriver and put it in one of these little spots right here and push upwards, and that was able to lock it in a tighter position. Got my pliers, crimped this little piece right here, so this thing is on there pretty tight now, even though you can still rotate it a little bit. But that thing ain't going nowhere. It's because there's a little notch right here on the rack itself, so it's not going to allow the boot to slide right off. Now we can go ahead and connect this hose right here. Okay, there we have it. Hose is connected. Inner metal band is connected. Hardest part's done. Now we need to go ahead and put the outer band on and put the tie rod back end on and put the wheels back on and put this back on the ground. And we'll have brand new rack and pinion boots to protect our steering system. Alright guys, this wraps up today's video. Hope that you guys have a thorough understanding of removing and replacing power steering rack and pinion boots. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to comment below. We're going to continue working on the H22 build next episode. Hope you guys can tune along for that. If you guys like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Have a great day.